Bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Welcome to today's show. As always, we are powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your one-stop shop for all things Lakers. Today's show is brought to you by Simple Contacts. Just head over to simplecontacts.com/LakersNation and get $30 off your next order of contact lenses. Well, the day is almost upon us. The NBA draft is coming up in just a few weeks. And then with July 1st, we'll have NBA free agency starting. And that's when this summer is really going to pick up for your Los Angeles Lakers. So I brought in Jon Rettinger of TechnoBuffalo.com to help us sort through everything. Jon, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. Finally, the free agency summer that Laker fans are looking forward to and promised for about 3.5 years is finally here.
Well, you know, that was actually the first thing I wanted to talk about here is free agency. And Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka have built this up so much. I mean, they've been accumulating cap space and doing everything they can to make sure that they can land a max free agent. Do they have to land a max free agent this summer? Like, is it going to be a big disappointment if they don't at this point?
I mean, this has been hyped up like a Star Wars movie level of hype. I mean, Magic was fined for tampering, preparing for this summer. I think if Paul George doesn't come or if he stays in OKC, I think immediately it's going to set it up as a disappointing summer for Laker fans. But I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world if they don't land a marquee free agent. This is the first year I've said that. Their young core is really strong. And their young core, given the years to grow, could become something great. You know, Golden State was built in a very similar way. You know, they built strong through the drafts and then obviously added some big free agents once they established themselves. But I don't think it's going to be the worst thing in the world if they whiff, but certainly I would like them to, you know, finally make that marquee move.
Absolutely. You know, Rob Pelinka was recently on ESPN, and this was a story that we aggregated for LakersNation.com. And he mentioned that Kobe, right after Pelinka took the GM job, called him and told him that the most difficult thing is going to be patient here. And now is the time where they're going to have to be, because if they don't get LeBron, they don't get Paul George, suddenly you've got all this cap space and it's going to be burning a hole in their pocket. They're going to be wanting to spend it, but then that's how you wind up getting mistakes like the Mozgov deal and the Luol Deng deal and all of that. So it's going to be really tough. But do you think the fan base is going to be okay with just saying, hey, we're patient, we're fine? I mean, even though you've got these young players to look at, do you think Lakers fans will be on board with that route?
You know, I don't know. I read that article that you guys posted as well, and it was just funny because you think of Kobe Bryant, the one word that does not come to mind is patience.
Exactly.
You know, had one bad year, demanding to be traded to Chicago. So I think the fans will understand more this year than in previous years. I think what's going to be interesting is what happens with Julius Randle. If he commands more than that $16 or $17 million per year, do the Lakers match that offer and give up some of that precious cap space for the summer of 2019? That's going to be very telling. I think if they let Randle walk, they are planning on, and they have to, make a big splash next year. What's not being talked about, though, is just because Lakers have cap space, they don't have to use it on free agents. They can also use it on trades.
Yep.
And taking in some big contracts. You've heard names, CJ McCollum being thrown around, even some larger names, Karl Anthony Towns potentially not being happy in Minnesota, of course, Kawhi Leonard. There's a lot of opportunity that cap space provides.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, cap space can give them what gives them flexibility, and that's what they've got now. And if another name does come on the market, then they can trade for them. But then if you're going after, say, a Towns or a Kawhi Leonard, then that means you're probably parting with at least one, if not two or more of these young players. Is that a trade-off you're okay with making at this stage?
That's a good question. And I do not, it's tough to be in Rob Pelinka's shoes at this point. But I think if I have a chance to get a Karl Anthony Towns, I have a chance to get a Kawhi Leonard, I think you're really considerate. You know, always the rule of trade is the player you're trading better than what you're getting back? And you're not going to have anybody in your roster that's going to be better than Kawhi Leonard. I don't believe. Did anybody in your roster that's going to be better than Karl Anthony Towns? I don't believe. So, yeah, I'd probably make that trade, and I just sort of hope that it works out, as well as that Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance trade worked out.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report posted an article.
Yep.
In fact, I think it was today, saying that that the Lakers clearly won the trade because of Clarkson's struggles in Cleveland. You know, I'm kind of sad at how poorly Clarkson's been playing in Cleveland. I don't want to see him perform badly just so I can say the Lakers won the trade. I'm not rooting for that. I'd rather see him perform well and have a good career and everything. I'm hoping that he can kind of turn things around next year. But from the Lakers' perspective, it does make it look like they did indeed win that deal, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think he's shooting like 230 or something in the finals. I mean, it's an abysmal percentage. He's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard, and they asked him to play point, and that's where really you saw things start to falter. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
And this is sort of the $1 million question. What are your if you could predict, and I'm asking because this is what I've been wanting to ask, and what I've been hoping to see. What are your predictions for the offseason? What do you think is going to happen? What's LeBron going to do? What's going to happen in Houston? What's Paul George going to do? Is Clint Capella going to play a part in any of this? Like, I want to know what you think. You're the expert.
I think that I've said this. I've been on record saying that LeBron, I think he's going to Houston. I think he's going to find a way to squirm his way over to the Houston Rockets somehow. Word came out today. Tanya Ganguly of the LA Times said that LeBron is focused solely on winning a championship, and so he's going to go wherever he can get a championship, which doesn't sound like the Lakers, and he's such good friends with Chris Paul. I think they're going to figure out a way to make that happen, but I'm going to say Paul George comes back home. I'm going to say he winds up with the Lakers, and he's a great fit. He's a great fit in a lot of different places, but I think he's going to wind up back home with the Lakers. And if it's just George and not James and not Cousins and not those guys, then I think that you wind up also keeping Julius Randle, which I certainly wouldn't be disappointed about. I don't know about you, your thoughts on Randle, but I think he's one of those core piece guys now after the season that he had, and he's somebody that you got to retain.
Yeah, I agree with Randall. I think you can't pay Randall more than that $17 million per year, and certainly you're not going to match a max deal. You look at like the deal like Harrison Barnes got a few years ago that which like blew everybody away. If you can match an offer that's 16 to 17, I think keeping Randall is a no-brainer. But I'm wondering if Houston has to gut their roster to afford LeBron James. That means Clint Capella's gone. That means Trevor Ariza's gone. Was it Umba Mute's gone?
Mm-hmm. Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson.
Yep. Do the Lakers with Paul George, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram have a better chance of winning with LeBron James?
If they have to get their roster, I'm still going to lean towards the superstars because I think you're going to get those guys that are ring chasers that are going to show up. You know, you think about Zaza Pachulia and him joining the Golden State Warriors when they had a super team and he signed up on for super cheap. You know, you're going to see the same thing happen with the Rockets. If they have LeBron, and I think they can keep Capella because his cap hold is fairly low right now, and then they can bring him back in. Daryl Morey's a genius. He's going to figure out a way to make it work. But if you have a core to build around of Capella, LeBron, Chris Paul, and James Harden, I think players are going to flock there. You're going to get those guys that are wanting to just come and chase rings. And yeah, it's a scary thought, but at the same time, it'd be kind of cool to see a team that's ready to go toe-to-toe with the Golden State Warriors and they have the firepower to do it. It's just a little bit of a disappointment that it wouldn't be the Lakers, but you know, some competition would be good too.
Okay, so interesting question. What team is better equipped to go toe-to-toe with Golden State? Is it a Houston team with LeBron James, Chris Paul, and James Harden? Or is it a Lakers team with Paul George, LeBron James, and the Lakers' young core? And it looks to be a very sort of burgeoning Thomas Bryant as well. Like, which squad is better equipped to compete for a championship?
I mean, at this stage, I'm always going to go with the veterans. So you're
still going to go Houston? I'm
still going to go Houston, but that's not to say that the Lakers couldn't get there in a couple of seasons. Like if you have those guys, if you have Lonzo Ball, if you still have Brandon Ingram, you still have, say, Julius Randle, if you can figure out some way to hang on to him, you've got Kyle Kuzma, you've got some guys that in a couple of years will be ready to roll because we know that in the playoffs, experience is a big, big factor. And so I think that rolling in with a team that's not quite ready, despite having those two stars, that will come into play when they're taking on the Warriors. But then the Houston Rockets would already have those veteran guys. They would have Harden. They would have Paul. They would have guys who have been there before. Paul, of course, hasn't been to the NBA Finals, but those guys have been in high-pressure situations before. They've dealt with deep playoff runs. And so I would still give them the nod for right now. But
Okay.
Maybe the year after, or the year after that, I probably wouldn't.
I respectfully disagree. I think a Lakers core with Paul George and LeBron James is a better team than what he has now in Cleveland. A better supporting cast. Obviously,
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
The East is weaker than the West, but that group got to the NBA Finals. I really feel strongly that I think if LeBron's looking at what's going to give him the longest championship window, teaming up with Paul George, and Waj reported they're going to have that conversation, teaming up with Paul George in Los Angeles, I think gives them equal chance as Houston with a longer window than what Houston has.
Well, I definitely hope that you're right on that. That would be.
I hope, man.
That would be. You know what? I mean, that's going to be a really darn good team if they can pull that off. And I think the question would be, how quickly can the kids get ready to go? And I think about that Boston Celtics team, right? The what is it? 07-08 Boston Celtics. Or no, wait, 08-09. I'm talking about the first year, whatever the first year was. I've probably blocked it out at this point. The first year was that they got KG and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce all together. And they had a super team. And then everybody was saying, who's going to be their point guard? Rondo isn't ready. Rondo's not ready. He's too young, all his stuff. And then Rondo showed up and he was ready. And suddenly they had a championship team. And if you can get somebody to make a jump like that, if you can get Lonzo Ball to suddenly look like he's really ready to go and really ready to handle that moment, then you're in business. Then you're there. Kyle Kuzma, Julius Randle, all these guys, all the young guys, suddenly, if they pop, then yeah, you've got LeBron, you've got Paul George, and then you're steamrolling at that point. Yeah,
that you very eloquently put it, and you couple all those into the fact that the marketing presence that he could have in LA, the homes that he has in LA. I think when you stack all those things together, if you can get both of those guys, and that's obviously a big if, Paul George is a big question mark too, I think LA is a very clear choice for him, without having to gut a roster like you'd have to in Houston. And obviously, the Nick Youngs will certainly come to Houston, but I think LA gives a really solid, compelling argument.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? This is where I've been saying this from day one here. This summer, when that clock strikes midnight on July 1st, it's go time for Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, and particularly Magic Johnson, just because he's there. I mean, he's there to be the kind of the face, right? And he's that legend, but at the same time, he's that guy that's got to step into that conference room, meet with these free agents. He's got to flash that big, beautiful smile of his, and he has to sell these guys. On Lakers basketball. And I don't think there's anybody really better equipped to sell the current Lakers team than Magic Johnson. So that's going to be his time to shine, and I think this is where they're going to really earn their keep, is when they start to pitch free agents. Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka do.
I agree, and I hope you're right. I have like in the pit of my stomach that feeling, when Mitch Kupchak and company tried to pitch LaMarcus Aldridge and didn't talk at all about basketball, and he had to come back again. Like, you hope they can do it right. Then you hear these horror stories. This is clearly what they've been preparing for. As soon as that clock ticks over, you're right. That is the moment that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka were brought in for. But until they can prove they can do it, I'm still reticent.
Yeah. I mean, until that signature is on that paper and that contract is signed, yeah, I'm gonna be skeptical. And I mean, you think back even to DeAndre Jordan a few summers ago, right? Like he said, he was joining the Dallas Mavericks, and the next thing you know, they're barricading the doors of his house, and the Clippers are flying there on a plane, and Mark Cuban is driving around trying to find DeAndre Jordan, and craziness ensues. So I mean, even once a player agrees verbally, like, it's not done until it's done, and so yeah, until they actually get the ink drying on that contract, I'm going to withhold judgment. But man, if they can get it done, if they can land some of these guys, that's going to be huge. We're going to take a quick break to talk about Simple Contacts. If you wear contact lenses and find yourself dreading your annual appointment to renew your prescription, then you're going to love Simple Contacts. It's a great new company that makes this annoying process very simple. Simple Contacts lets you renew your expired contact lens prescription and reorder your brand of lenses from your phone or computer in minutes. Simple Contacts brings the doctor's office to wherever you are, whenever you need it. You can take the Simple Contacts vision test online in 5 minutes. A real doctor reviews it and renews your prescription. You save time, money, and save yourself a headache. And if you have an unexpired prescription, just upload a photo of it or your doctor's info and order your lenses in minutes for a great price. They do all the hard work for you. This is vision care for the 21st century, people. Simple Contacts offers every brand of lenses and their prices are unbeatable. The prescription is just $20. They have some of the best prices on contacts and shipping is free. Best of all, my listeners get $30 off their first Simple Contacts order. To save $30 off your lenses, just go to simplecontacts.com/LakersNation. Again, that's simplecontacts.com/LakersNation. I want to mention that this isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam. You still need those occasionally, but it is the most convenient way to renew a prescription and reorder your contacts if your vision has not changed. Again, check out Simple Contacts and get $30 off by going to simplecontacts.com/LakersNation. Give it a try and you'll thank me later.
I could not agree more. But speaking of DeAndre Jordan, the report coming out is that he is itching to go to Houston.
I saw that.
And should he go to Houston, that closes the door. That closes the door on LeBron going to Houston if they make that move.
If they do, but if you're Houston, is DeAndre Jordan better than Clint Capella? I think there's a real argument you could have there. So Clint Capella's cap hold is a lot lower than anything you would pay DeAndre Jordan. I would think. I don't know. I would be, if I'm Houston, I'd be skeptical about going after DeAndre Jordan in place of Clint Capella, and I don't know that you take both guys. Do you want two centers who both can't shoot from outside and can't provide any floor spacing? I don't know about that. I mean, they're both good. They're both good at protecting the rim and doing what they do. But, I mean, I'd probably lean towards just hanging on to Capella if I'm the Rockets.
As would I, which by that report raised a lot of eyebrows. But, man, I hope they sign him. I hope at 12:01, DeAndre Jordan's agreeing to like a 4-year deal with Houston with the rest of the chips start to fall. I do think Philly, though, is a scary option, but the Colangelo stuff certainly plays in the Lakers' favor, for the likes of a lot of the free agents.
Oh, John, I was just tweeting about that. I think it was yesterday, the day before, that this, free agency begins in 3 weeks, and this Philly stuff is popping up right now. That's good timing, I guess, for the Lakers. Now, it may be a little bit scary if they bring in David Griffin, because he's already – what's that?
Yeah, it's terribly scary. I agree.
Yeah, if he's got that connection with LeBron already, but for the most part, this whole thing is popping up at a terrible time for the Philadelphia 76ers, and they were a team that I was definitely worried about chasing Paul George and LeBron James. They're still going to, but hopefully this gives those guys pause. Like, hey, do we really want to be part of this, or is this just going to be a big mess?
I agree. I completely agree. It's interesting to see how that plays out and who they hire, and obviously they'll hire somebody very quickly. But can I ask you a question just on the whole Colangelo stuff?
Yeah.
So Trevor, are you married?
Yeah, I am.
You're married. Okay, I'm married too. Would you ever throw your wife under the bus like that? I mean, as like blatant as that was, like ever?
Well. Here's the thing. Gosh, I sound awful already because I didn't just say no. Here's the thing. Like his future career is kind of on the line here.
Clearly.
Right? Because if he's behind those accounts, then not only is he losing the Sixers job, Colangelo, but he's losing any shot at ever getting a job in the league again. Right? Whereas if he can at least deflect that blame a little bit, and he could say, no, it wasn't me doing it. Oh, it was my wife. I apologize. I didn't know she was doing that. She didn't know she was doing something wrong by doing that, whatever. However you can deflect that blame, that's going to make it a little bit more likely that maybe he does wind up with another job in the NBA at some point. I mean, his family has a long history in the league. So
absolutely,
I think that's gotta come into play here too. But yeah, the optics of it just on the surface, looking at it and saying, man, it wasn't me. It was all her. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah, that whole story was just, it was such like a TMZ, like made for TMZ tabloid story.
It's why the NBA is the greatest.
Yeah, it looked really bad. I didn't mean to digress away from the Lakers, but I wanted to ask you for that because I was reading what's going on. I was like, man, my wife would murder me. But I guess, if that's how you're supporting your family, you want to give yourself the best position to land somewhere else.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, Colangelo is probably sleeping on the couch in his house at this point. But it's probably a lovely couch though, so he probably isn't too upset. Hey, let's talk about the draft a little bit, man. We've got the draft is coming up on June 21st. The Lakers have 2 picks. They've got the 25th and the 47th. Any thoughts on what they do with these picks? Like, would you be looking to trade the picks at this point, or do you just trust the scouting department and pick whoever they say is the best player available?
Man, that's a good question. You have a lot of young guys already. Like, you got a lot of young guys already. I don't know if bringing in one more is going to change things, especially if it's a 2-3 year project away. There's some rumors floating around today with Milwaukee and Lonzo Ball, and if you read those as well, that perhaps they're looking to get rid of the Luol Deng albatross and angling Lonzo in their pick for what is in Milwaukee? I think the 15th and Middleton.
I did not see that one. That would be, I don't know. Would you do that?
No,
I don't think I would either.
So. But I will say that would give the Lakers obviously a hole at point guard, but they would have the 15th and 25th pick. That's enough draft stock to move up. Move up into the top 10.
Potentially, yeah.
If there's somebody that they like, maybe they're sick of LeVar and the antics. I would probably look to trade the pick. That might be what you have to do to get rid of Luol Deng. Maybe it's Josh Hart, the 25th pick, and then you can get rid of Deng.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I'd be okay with moving the pick in that type of scenario, but at the same time, I wonder, like, if you're in the Lakers' position with Luol Deng, right, and they don't land LeBron James, they don't land Paul George, then you don't need to trade Luol Deng. You can wait another year. You can keep his contract on the books. You don't have that urgency. So
agreed.
If you trade that pick now at the draft, and you use that positive asset to move Luol Deng's contract, plus you're probably going to have to give more, so say a Josh Hart, somebody like that, then you're giving up positive assets that maybe you didn't even have to lose. So I think that's the concern. But at the same time, if a move like that happened, I'd probably freak out a little bit because it means like they probably know something's coming, right?
That would be my first reaction. And also kind of it's a little bit of a Jerry Buss gamble. Betting on yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be freaking out internally too, thinking that they know something is coming. But your point about not having to do anything with Deng's contract is certainly accurate. What I don't understand is why don't they just play him? That had a hard time. I couldn't wrap my hand around that. Why not just play him? Right. At least help his trade stock.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of the season, they didn't play him, even though they had, they traded away Corey Brewer and they lost they had injuries and things like that. And so people were questioning, like, hey, why doesn't Luol Deng just play? You're paying him, $18 million to sit on the bench. Why not toss him in there? And I think, for a while they were holding him out, figuring, hey, we can try to move him and everything. And we don't want to put him out there and get him injured. And then we can't do anything with him. But you got to wonder, like, I mean, he's still practicing. Was he that bad in practices that they just thought that he couldn't help? Or what was going on there? It was a weird situation and uncomfortable for him too. And credit to Luol Deng because he didn't make a big fuss about it. He didn't rant and rave like a lot of guys would. He just came in and did what he could to help the young guys and tried to be a mentor and work with the team that way, even knowing that he wasn't going to get on the floor.
I agree. I completely agree with you. So I wanted just to throw a little bit of information on the 25th pick, which is the Lakers are picking 25th, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm looking at a list of players who've been picked 25th from like 2013-ish to 1980. So going all the way back. There aren't that many names that are jumping out here. There's Al Harrington is in there. Carlos Delfino, Tony Allen, Shannon Brown, Laker fans remember, Nicholas Batum. Not that many names. You're not getting, I don't think, the next star at 25. So I think if you're evaluating what to do with that pick, even looking at history of that 25th pick, maybe trade it while it's got the most value.
That's true, and that's a great point, but I'll counter with this. Couldn't you say the same thing for the 27th pick last season? And then they wound up with Kyle Kuzma, right?
It absolutely, you 100%, you could say that. Do you think you can strike gold twice?
That's
consecutively.
The question. That's the question. How much do you trust the Lakers scouting department to hit it out of the park again? I mean, finding Kyle Kuzma and Josh Hart, finding Larry Nance Jr., identifying Jordan Clarkson, and then spending the money to get him. And he was a solid player for the Lakers. Can they do that once again, where they land a top talent later in the draft, a guy that's being overlooked by other teams. From my research in the draft, I think that the guy that they could get at 25 could be just as good as somebody picked at 15. This draft has that kind of depth. The question is the guy that they really want still there? And I think that's going to determine a lot of what they end up doing on draft night.
Yeah, I think if we see anything happen, it probably will happen on draft night. But that core is already so young. But then there's a flip side. If you get another player on a rookie deal, and you're getting a steal of a player for 4 years, presumably, there's something to be said for that as well. There's a flip side to it. Just history does not favor at least the Lakers getting a star at 25.
Right. Yeah. The odds of finding a superstar there are very slim. But you know what? I have to wonder if they'll just kind of take the gamble and go for it. Here's something that I've been looking at lately. This year's draft, right, was basically stress free for me. Because I knew that the odds were heavy that the Lakers were just going to stay at 10. It wasn't like they were going to jump up and give Boston a great pick or the Philadelphia 76ers the first overall pick or anything like that. But those past few years, that's 3 years before that, man, I was stressed out for weeks ahead of time. Weeks over that draft lottery, waiting to hear what the result was of those ping pong balls. And I know a lot of Lakers fans are right there with me. We're all, tentatively watching our screens, waiting for it to be announced whether or not the Lakers kept their pick. So with all of that in mind, if a situation comes up where the Lakers can now trade a future pick, let's say they can trade the 2019 pick with protections on it, would you be hesitant to do so knowing what the Lakers have gone through over the past few years with pick protections?
It's funny. I've been so anxious to the draft lottery. I probably would. I probably would make that trade. They're already, again, same argument, stacked with youth. I probably really would, I think, make that trade.
You'd still do it and just stress a little bit on draft day or draft lottery day, I should say.
I would. And I want to just harken back to your 15th versus 25th pick.
Yeah.
Because you heard the highlights of the 25th pick.
Right.
The highlights of the 15th pick. So you've got the Greek Freak.
Yep.
You've got Kawhi Leonard. You've got Al Jefferson. You've got Steve Nash, Brent Barry, Anthony Peeler.
This sounds better already.
Del Curry. So you're looking at Robin Lopez. I mean, you're looking at the quality of player that's been picked at 15 historically versus 25 is drastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Drastic. So I don't know. Maybe you do make a move to try and get up. The higher you go, man, the players that have been taken, your odds just get better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The higher you can get in the draft, the better you are. The question is, what do you have to give up in order to move up? Are there teams that really want somebody that they want at a particular spot? Is that that's going to come into play here? And that's the other thing, too. When I'm looking at the Lakers trading future draft picks, here's what I think is going to happen. The Lakers are trying to move, say, Luol Deng, right? And they're attaching a future pick. Yes. Let's say maybe they're protecting it a little bit or something like that. Teams are going to know that they're moving him in order to free up cap space because they've got someone coming. And therefore, they're not going to value those picks as highly as they would otherwise because they know that means, LeBron's coming or Paul George is coming or both of them. And then the Lakers pick isn't going to be that strong. It's going to be like 25th. It's going to be 26th or whatever. So they're in a weird spot where if they try to move these future picks and offload Luol Deng, then teams aren't going to value those picks as much as they would normally.
That is a very fair point. Hopefully, the flip side of that is if they're banking on the Lakers swinging and missing, and maybe they're rolling with a young core for another year, and maybe that pick is a top 12.
Sure.
So you're probably more accurate though, which is why the trade with Cleveland midseason was even more of a head scratch that Cleveland would agree to that.
I could not believe, so many people were freaking. I go to all these different, online message boards and things like that to gauge value of players and see what different fans think and all that. And everybody was thinking that the Lakers were going to have to pay a fortune to get a team to take Jordan Clarkson. They thought that there was no way anybody was going to absorb that salary. The Lakers were going to have to give up a future first and all that. Cleveland took him and gave the Lakers a first. I mean, amazing. It still is unbelievable.
I mean, the fact that it came from Cleveland, like Cleveland was helping the Lakers shed salary, was even more head scratching.
Yeah. I mean, Cleveland gave the Lakers the salary to sign LeBron James, which if it goes down that way, I mean, people are going to look back on that trade so differently. If the Lakers actually end up getting LeBron, like it's going to look bad for the Cavs. I think they're just kind of hoping he doesn't go to the Lakers at this point.
I think there's nothing else that you could I completely agree with you. I don't know. It was just an interesting way of things to play out, and I can't wait for the draft. That's when things start to happen. It's gonna be a more fascinating draft than the Lakers have had in recent years. There wasn't much of a surprise with the number 2 picks the past few years. Maybe the D'Angelo Russell caught people off guard, right. But the past at least 2 years, you've known what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, definitely. This one, you really don't know. There's a lot of different options available at 25. Plus, this whole idea of them moving the pick, I think, is real, and I think it could really happen. So, I'm going to be watching the whole draft waiting for that Woj bomb, that tweet saying the Lakers have made a move. We've seen that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka are not afraid to wheel and deal at all. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them actually make a trade on draft night and see that pick move out. It's going to be a fun draft. That's for sure.
Do you bank on the Lakers being patient, or do you bank on them trying to make a big splash?
I think they're going to try to make a big splash. I think they're going to try to make something happen if there's a deal there to be had.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
It just seems like that's the way it's going to go. And if it doesn't, then kudos to them for being patient, because that's not always easy to do. But I think they're going to try to make a big splash here, and it's going to be an interesting night, that's for sure. And then leading up to free agency, man, this is the fun part of the year, really, because the Lakers aren't a playoff team at this point, and this is the time when all the big changes are going to be made. So end of June, first few weeks of July, especially as we get into summer league and everything, this is probably my favorite part of the year, which is weird because they're not even playing right now, but there's just so much happening in the NBA. This is why it's a year-round league pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. This is the summer that Laker fans have been waiting for. This has been the promised summer. This is why Pelinka and Magic were brought in. This has been what Laker fans have been hoping for, since the moment Kobe ruptured his Achilles. This has been our promised months, and I'm hoping that the promise is fulfilled.
Yes, yeah, hopefully they come through here. Now, John, one thing before we get out of here, one thing I should mention is we are recording this on Friday before Game 4 of the NBA Finals. This show actually isn't going to publish until Monday. So do we want to just go ahead and congratulate the Golden State Warriors for being the NBA champions again and risk throwing up the Nick Young 3 and celebrating before it even goes down?
You know what? You're the professional. I won't put you in that. I won't put you in that position. I, however, am the amateur. I'm happy to congratulate the Golden State Warriors on their sweep. Congratulations, Golden State. You bought another one.
So we're either gonna look really, really good. Well, better, I guess, on Monday, or it's gonna look really bad that we called it a sweep. But yeah, I think Golden State's gonna end up taking it in 4 here. It's gonna be a sweep. They're too good. Too good, and it'll be nice. Hopefully next season we can get some teams in there that can really, really challenge them. Although I think overall the season was more exciting than people thought it was going to be. Everybody thought Golden State was just going to run through everybody and there was going to be no contest at all. But still, to wind up with the same finals series another year, it's time for some fresh blood, I think.
I agree. And doesn't it work out better in the Lakers' favors if LeBron gets swept? I keep thinking, what's better for the Lakers? I think that the Cavs getting swept is better. It's clear this team's not going to work. They got to blow it up. We couldn't get it done. I got to go somewhere else.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. They not only should get – the Lakers fans should be rooting not only for the Cavs to get swept, but for them to just get blown out. And LeBron is dropping insane numbers. 58 and 8 and just blowing up. And he's just got no one around him that can help. And that's exactly what the Lakers want to see happen, because they want him to feel like, man, this is a lost cause. This roster is done. There's nothing I can do with it. There's no flexibility anymore, and to look elsewhere. And hopefully that elsewhere is Los Angeles. Although, you know what? There's a lot of Lakers fans that don't even want LeBron. Kind of weird.
I know. There's that. I'm shocked at how many Laker fans don't want LeBron. I think it's the same amount of people that were hating on Shaq before they brought him on. You know how many people would be buying number 23 jerseys the second that pen was put to ink?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if LeBron comes to Los Angeles, we talked about this, months ago. The Lakers fans that hate LeBron, that don't want to see LeBron in Los Angeles, would change their tune as soon as the jump ball went up to start the first game of the season. Right? As soon as he's on your team, he's in your jersey, I think everything changes, and then everything would be fine. But you would have some grumbling, I'm sure.
I'm sure, as you would with any fan base, but man, I'm not a giant LeBron fan, but I would I would swallow my pride real fast if number 23 wanted to come play for the purple and gold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you have to. I mean, he's kind of good. Just a little.
Yeah, it's, we'll keep him.
All right, Jon. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on here. Any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
No, first, I just want to thank you for having me. I read the site daily. I have alerts on my computer whenever a new article gets posted. I am a fan, and the opportunity to talk about my passion, talk about Lakers basketball is awesome. I think you guys do an absolutely incredible job. Thank you for at least letting me be a very tiny part of it.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much for coming on here. And guys, make sure you go follow Jon on Twitter at Jon4Lakers. That's the number 4, Jon 4, number 4 Lakers. And great follow on there. Obviously, all kinds of tech info that he puts out there, and has a phenomenal handle there for Twitter.
Thank you.
So, I always appreciate him coming on. That's going to wrap things up for today's show. We'll be back next Monday. We're going to do a big draft preview show. So we're going to be getting ready for the NBA draft, which will be coming up that following Thursday, which is June 21st. And, make sure you guys tune in then. This has been Trevor Lane, and this is the Lakers Nation podcast. See ya.